There is nothing, only warm primordial blackness. Your conscience ferments in it, no larger than a single grain of malt. You don't have to do anything anymore. Ever. Never, ever.
Hello there, and welcome to the Sweet 16 episode of PlayStation Pals, a video game podcast. I'm your host, Nick, and I'm joined by the Tommy to my Joel, John. Now, John, what are your thoughts on the month of October? We know that you hated August, but what about October? How do you feel about it?
Top tier month, man. Top tier. I think fall is the best season. October is probably the most fall feeling season. I like horror movies. I like being scared. So I got nothing bad to say about October. That's for sure.
Wow. Okay. Good. Yeah. Good. Because that is in fact true. It is the best month. So
yeah.
And that's what we're doing here. We're gonna shepherd everyone into October because it's here. October is already here. I can't believe it.
I just gotta say I gotta make sure June gets a little bit of love. June may make a run for its money, but
Ugh, God.
Yeah.
It's too hot.
Yeah, but I was born then. I was God's gift to Earth on June 4th.
Oh my God, the ego on this guy. Oh, jeez. All right, we have some things to talk about, but before I get into the format of the show, we have two smaller news items. The first one being that PlayStation Stars, in which they showed off those fancy digital items back in the State of Play. It's out in Asia right now. If you're in Asia, including Japan, you have access to it. North and South America will be October 5th, and then the rest of the world will be October 13th. So.
How is that not just blowing up the internet right now? How are people not talking about PlayStation Stars? It's crazy.
Well, we'll see. I mean, we'll have access to it next week. So I kind of want to save the discussion until we can actually see it in the app for ourselves. There are some screenshots out there of your display case and whatnot. But just be on the lookout. Definitely sign up for it because it's free. And it just gets you reward points. So. Mm-hmm. And then the other small news item is that Skull and Bones. They heard about Suicide Day, as we coined the term, the day before God of War Ragnarok, November 8th. So they were like, let's get the fuck out of here. Mm-hmm. And they delayed it to March 9th of 2023. For Ubisoft.
I think that game, I'm just going to make a prediction right now, that game will sell 11 copies on its first day.
You want to make a bet?
Yeah, man, you're taking the under on that, right?
Yeah. So not shocking, I think, as we have mentioned, that game, it just still doesn't look good, so more time will only benefit it, so...
I got to ask you, too, Nick. You mentioned this to me today, another maybe potential small piece of news. I don't know. I haven't seen anything about it, but you said there was a certain actor that was that tweeted something that quickly got taken down, right? What do we want to share with the audience what that is, just in case they might want to keep that copy of the game that they have?
Yeah. So I didn't see the tweet. It was deleted by the time I saw the post about it. But Lance Riddick, who plays Silence in the Horizon franchise, he tweeted out a picture, I guess, and a quote that said that he's doing more facial capture for Horizon Forbidden West DLC. So, whoops.
Yeah, whoops. That's cool. I mean, I think everybody kind of expected that there would be some DLC for that game. The first one got it, and it's, it seems that open world formula is a very easy format to adjust to and make some new areas and, make it just a new biome or whatever. So, everybody just keep your copies of Horizon. If you enjoyed it, you want to play a little bit more, but I would expect to see some DLC probably at some point next year.
Yeah. Are you excited about it? If there is, this is not official, of course. So
right, pure speculation. Yes, I mean Horizon Forbidden West was fantastic. It's I think everybody's already kind of exhausted all the points that they had on it. It's open world, the best version of that. So sure, more of it is good. I never played the Frozen Wilds because when it came out and I tried to go back to it, I forgot how to play. I didn't feel like relearning it, and again, like, you know, I'm not playing Far Cry 6 right now, but like that style of open world game, that scratch can be itched in many, many different ways. So, you know, it would probably be one that I would wait because I think it would eventually come to Extra or Essential or something. You know, I don't see myself buying it when it comes out, but you know, more Horizon is always a good thing in my mind, I guess.
Yeah, I'm curious as to what they can do differently because, as you mentioned, the kind of the setting change was the big thing in the first DLC for the first game, and then in this game they have all the different biomes. So I would be curious as to what.
I mean, here's a thought. Like, you know, I obviously we don't know what Horizon 3 is going to be. I think it's pretty much guaranteed there will be one. And so, you know, do we go to a different continent? And perhaps if we do, you know, I could see something like Hawaii or Alaska or something like that kind of bridges into, you know, going over to Asia or whatever, if that were the case. But I could see something like that maybe. I don't know.
And I just had a thought. I wonder if this will be like a Miles Morales thing. Do you think that they might do like a separate standalone thing that technically is kind of DLC, but maybe a little longer, maybe like a 15-hour Horizon project? Maybe you don't even play as, you know, Aloy.
Yeah, I don't know. I think they'll want to keep it Aloy at least, just because they also have Call of the Mountain coming out for VR, and that's going to kind of be that, you know, separate Horizon story. And they have the movie that they're, you know, or I can't remember if it was a movie or a TV show. It's a show. Okay.
Yeah.
So they got that coming. So I don't know if they want to bombard everybody with too much newness when it comes to that. I would bet it's probably just your standard DLC like the Frozen Wilds was, but. You know, this is a new Sony who likes to, you know, do that kind of stuff. So, you know, it's possible. But I would put my money on just a regular, good old DLC. Right.
All right. Well, yeah, that's something to keep an eye out for. Again, it was never officially announced. It's just the tweet from Lance Riddick. So, you know, it may never happen. Who knows? He could be working on the third game for all he knows. Maybe he got confused.
Right, he has no idea what he's doing there.
So, all right. So now we can move on to the format of the show. And if you're just joining us, this is how it works. We each bring 3 things to talk about. It can be a video game we're playing, a news item, a topic, a Reddit thread, an email to PlayStationPalsPod@gmail.com, Twitter DMs at PSPalsPod, any of those things, whatever we feel like talking about, we will bring it. And given that we're shepherding everyone into October, let's give everyone a preview of what they'll be playing or what they can be playing. So, John, do you want to start us off?
It's that time of month, folks. It's that time of month. PlayStation is letting us know what, the free games will be for the Essential tier. Right off the bat, I gotta say I'm a little bit annoyed with Sony, how sometimes we get just the Essentials, sometimes we get the Essentials and Extra, and, you know, when you're reporting the news and paying attention to the industry, it gets a little bit annoying where, you know, you never know when you're gonna get that stuff, but I digress. So this month we got 3 games as usual. The first game, probably the one that they're promoting the most, being that it's the PS5 game, is Hot Wheels Unleashed. And this is a game that came out last year, made by Milestone Games. Look them up because I wasn't familiar with the team, but they are definitely a racing team. They've done a lot of those mid-market racing games like MotoGP 22, like the Monster Energy Supercross, Ride 4, things like that. So, they're definitely experienced in this niche, but it's your standard kart racer, but obviously with a Hot Wheels aesthetic. You're going along the orange tracks that I think we all, are very familiar with from our childhood. And I think it's, actually received pretty well. IGN gave this game a 9. Not that they're the end-all, be-all of reviewers, but I think they know a thing or two about video games over there. So, it's probably something that if you're into kart racers, you have a soft spot for Mario Kart or, things like that. It should be a good time. So we got that coming. And then we got some big PS4 games. At least once upon a time, they were big PS4 games. They're a little bit older this go around, but we're getting Injustice 2 from NetherRealm Studios, the makers of the Mortal Kombat franchise. So this is basically Mortal Kombat, but with superheroes, right? So. if you're into fighting games, if you're into the superhero thing, then this is definitely going to be something you want to check out. Nick, did you play the Injustice games? I can't remember if you have or not.
Yeah, I bought this when it came out.
Okay.
Again, as we've mentioned, we're not very good at fighting games, but this one does have a really good single-player story, and the facial animation in this is incredible. It's one of the best I've ever seen. So it does have a fun single-player campaign that's not too difficult. So even if you're fighting games, you're not going to jump online and fight other people. At least the single-player campaign is fun and enjoyable. So.
Well, I think we might have to have a couple matches against each other, Nick, and see how we do against each other. Because, I don't think either of us consider ourselves to be experts in fighting games. So that might be fun. But and then the last game that we're getting is a 2016 game from the aptly named Super Hot Team. That game is obviously Super Hot. This is a game that I played it in VR, and it's one of the most fun game. That's horrible grammar. The funnest games that I've played in VR, where basically the premise of it is, think of yourself as John Wick in this weird polygonal world where time only moves if you move. So at least in VR, I can't speak to playing it with a controller, because this version that we're getting, as far as I can see, is only the PS4 version. The VR version was a separate SKU, so I don't think we're getting that if you have a VR unit, but at least you'll get the PS4 one. But when you're playing this game, time moves when you move. So in VR, you can kind of like stand still, scope out the area. It almost operates like a puzzle game where, you can kind of see your enemies ahead of you. They're going to shoot at you. And then, as the bullet starts to come towards you, you can start to duck out of the left, duck down, use your guns to block the bullet. If you're close enough to the enemies, you can reach out, at least, again, in VR, grab their gun, use it against them. It's just super, super fun to try and figure out a way to, get rid of all the enemies. And when you do it, you feel like an absolute badass. You feel like you're John Wick or Neo from The Matrix, or I guess any other Keanu Reeves property. And it's just super fun. So, I think it's one of those games that a lot of people, if they're unfamiliar with what it is, will write off immediately just based on the way it looks. Because, again, I'm looking at a picture. It's just a red polygonal dude in a white background. But super fun. I would recommend that game if you're looking for something a little bit unique.
And doesn't at the end of every level just plays it out like a giant video, so you get to see how cool you look and just all in real time?
The VR version didn't. It might on the the flat screen version, and it could have been a thing where like in a VR space that would look really weird and trippy if you were kind of like all of a sudden like a floating camera. But I could see that lending itself to it really nicely. But and then after you beat every level, it goes super hot, and it's really satisfying. Pretty decent month. I wouldn't say it's anything amazing. We got 2 games that are over 5 years old and a Hot Wheels game, but it's a nice variety: fighting game, racing game, shooting game. Check them out, man.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, pretty solid.
Yeah.
No horror games though, which boo.
Yeah, I know. I saw a lot of people online that thought it would have been better to. I think we got Little Nightmares like 2 months ago or something. Is save that for October. Put like Super Hot in there or something. But lots of behind the scenes dealings and things that us us common folk have no idea about. So, but yeah, would have been nice. Maybe we'll get an extra game that's a scary thing. So
yeah. All right.
Yep.
So those will be available Tuesday.
Yes.
October 4th.
The 4th, yep.
Okay,
yep, the 4th.
Cool. All right, so moving on, we're also going to give you guys a preview of the big games that are coming out in October. There's not a lot, which I'm kind of shocked about, but so what we'll do is I'll just list it off. We'll talk about our interest level in it, what our thoughts are, and then we'll move on to the next one. So the first one, also coming out on October 4th, is Overwatch 2. This is an interesting one because this is a free-to-play game. Overwatch will no longer cost money. Overwatch 1 won't exist at all. It'll convert to Overwatch 2, which will be free-to-play. It'll have, your typical trappings of Season Pass and loot boxes. That'll all still be there. But what do you think of this, John? This has kind of been under the radar. A sequel to a Blizzard game, and one of the biggest games of, when it initially came out, years and years ago. But real quiet now.
That was literally going to be my first comment. Is this game, Overwatch 1? It won Game of the Year at the Game Awards. Like it won the 2016 Game of the Year awards, and I have not heard a single person say that they're excited for this, that they're ready for it, that, oh my God, I only have 10 days till Overwatch 2, whatever the case is. And I think that speaks louder than anything else could, where, I don't know if anybody is jazzed about the direction that Blizzard took with this game, and I think you can probably speak on this a lot more than I can. I never really played the first one. It's not my style, and I know you loved it. And from everything I've seen it looks the same, it plays the same, you don't really get many new characters at all. They've talked about this single-player version, which we haven't seen anything of. So I can see this being a game that comes out like a fart in the wind, and then maybe in a year or two, after they've given it a good amount of support and updates and things like that, it's finally in a good spot. But I don't have a good vibe or feeling about this one for whatever reason.
Right. Yeah, and I'll put "I love this game" in quotes because I did play it a lot when it came out.
Because nobody loves Overwatch; they just put up with it.
No, I really did love it, but it was a team game. It's based on team gameplay, and I'll just share this story now. The reason I stopped playing Overwatch is because I snapped the disc in half. That's how angry the game got me. So that was a while ago. That was before even Hammond came out. So a lot of the changes to Overwatch, I just don't know. A lot of the new characters, the role queues, all that stuff, I just never experienced it because I was done with the game at that point.
What I would have given to be a fly on the wall in that moment.
I don't even remember what it did. I just probably lost horribly. We're just getting killed constantly or something, or just having a shitty team. But yeah, so that was also okay, you don't need to be playing this game if you get that angry, it was
very
a gut check.
Of you.
Yeah,
very mature.
So I haven't
been very immature by snapping the disc, I guess.
So I haven't been back. This will be interesting because, like I said, it is free to play, so I can check it out.
I was about to ask, are you planning on downloading this on October 4th?
I don't know. I don't know if I'll probably will check it out now that I think about it. Maybe play a few matches and then be like, oh, that's Overwatch, and then just bounce right back out. But we'll see. It is just, like I said, an interesting, because Blizzard games, they don't come out very often, so you would think the fanfare would be out there for this game, but
Blizzard is a stinky team right now, man. They're super stinky. They got Diablo Immortal, Diablo 4 is taking forever. Obviously, we know World of Warcraft is at probably an all-time low, and they got a lot of goodwill to earn back, I think.
Yeah, for sure, and. They do. This will have a PvE, because that is another thing that you'll be paying for, is like the PvE content, but I don't think they've really showed it yet. So, or any kind of single player content. So
it's weird.
This will be one to watch. So maybe we'll have some thoughts once it comes out and everyone's playing it. So, all right. So that's that, and then we go all the way to October 18th to A Plague Tale Requiem. I am psyched for this.
Nice.
As we know.
Yeah.
from my thoughts on A Plague Tale Innocence. So, which you still have to get through, John.
It's on the list. It was on the wheel. The wheel told me to not play it right now, but
okay.
It is. I played I think the first 2 or 3 chapters of the first one, and it's narrative focused for sure, but. From everything I've heard from you and other people is, I think the sequel has a lot of potential, and if they can make the combat maybe a little more interesting and refined, then I think this could be a definite sleeper hit of the fall for sure.
Yeah, and I'm trying to avoid any content on this because I just don't want to spoil it for me. But they've been hyping up all their DualSense integration and everything. They've had they've been on the PlayStation blog hyping up all the PlayStation 5 features they're bringing to the game. So. It'll be great, and like I said, I'm definitely getting it, and so I will have thoughts then and talk more about it. So
sweet.
Also coming out that day is Gotham Knights from Eidos Montreal, the makers of Batman Arkham Origins. Way back, I think that was 2014. So it's been a while since their last game. We kind of briefly talked about this when I was playing Marvel Avengers, because this game looks a lot like that, but is trying to say that it's not a live service game and that it's just a co-op game with loot. But I don't know what to think about this one. I want it to be good because I'd love to play a Batman game. But what about you, John? Any thoughts on this one?
This is it has to prove it to me game. I really liked, Arkham Asylum, Arkham City, Arkham Knight. I enjoyed, but I think without even saying the issues I had with it, you can probably guess. Batmobile stuff was a little heavy, but I don't know, man. This one just. Sometimes in the video game world, and I think anybody who truly analyzes the video game industry or likes games like we do, you kind of just sometimes look at something and you can't quite put your finger on it, or there's just a little bit something off about a property or project, and this is definitely one of those where I don't personally have any attachment to any of these characters. It's Robin. Help me out, Nick. Batgirl,
Nightwing, and Red Hood.
Right. I don't have any attachment to any of those characters. It's been so long since I was in the Arkham universe that I need them to show me that this is at least fun to play, because everything I've seen, combat-wise, they showed us a little bit of that Harley Quinn boss fight. It seems very meat and potatoes to me. It's very just kind of the same old thing where you're just going through Arkham, just getting mob after mob or whatever the case, and hey, this is our character who has ranged attack, this is our character who's acrobatic, this is our character who's a tank, and this is our character who's a little bit of everything. So I think if you play it and you say it's good, or it comes out and it's in that like mid 80s range, I might check it out. But with God of War around the corner, as much as I'm digging a game we're about to talk about and some other things that I want to get through, I don't think I'd get to this for a very long time.
Right. I kind of consider this, I kind of have this rule of like Black Friday games. It's like, what games do I want to play immediately, and what games do I want to play but I can wait, and what I think will be probably not very expensive when Black Friday comes off, or at least severely discounted. Yeah. As we mentioned, Ubisoft games are notorious for this. I got Watch Dogs Legion and Immortals Phoenix Rising for dirt cheap, months after release. And same thing with this. I think, I'm with you. If it reviews an 80 or above, I will probably definitely play it at that point, but I probably still wait and just wait till it goes on sale and then pick it up.
Yeah, I'm hoping this is more Guardians of the Galaxy and less like it's a sleeper hit where everybody's kind of like not very hyped on it coming out, and then it comes out and people are like, holy shit, this is like actually legit. And I think even Guardians, which came out October of last year, also was $30 by Black Friday. So and that's a great game that I think just just didn't catch fire. So I could see the same thing happening with this.
Yeah. So we'll see. I'll definitely have my eyes on it.
Well, and especially for you, it's really easy because what do you want to play more, Nick? Gotham Knights or Plague Tale? I mean, that's really the only question you have to answer, at least immediately. So
I mean, I love Arkham Combat, but I don't like loot in numbers. So
right. Yep. So yeah, you get to it when you get to it.
Yep. Exactly. All right, and then moving further into the month, on October 21st, we have new Tales from the Borderlands. John, since you played the previous game, I'll let you take this one. This is from Gearbox, not Telltale this time, as we mentioned previously. But what are your thoughts on this one?
You never played Tales from the Borderlands?
Nope.
Oh man. Okay. I don't have a ton to say about this. Telltale games have always been good, but not my style of game typically. But out of every property I've done with them, Tales from the Borderlands was by far my favorite. Wolf Among Us probably in a close second, but at least when it was done by Telltale, the humor always contentious in the Borderlands series, but I think they nailed it with the last one. Told a genuinely good story with characters that were funny, and you were happy to have along for the ride with. And so if they can kind of hit the same vibe, I'm definitely would want to check it out. I think we're just kind of needing to we're still waiting to see if this Telltale style game can kind of revitalize itself. Telltale infamously imploded on itself a couple of years back, and so if Gearbox is able to replicate what they did with it, if they can get the humor and whatnot, I think it could be good, but jury's gonna be out on that one. Being that we are kind of now gonna start getting into these like Wolf Among Us 2s and New Tales from the Borderlands, and see if the next chapter of these type of games is as good as the first one was, because I know The Walking Dead Season 1 is one of those real held high games, and hopefully they can continue with that.
Right. I just hope, like Telltale games, the best ones had the best writing, but all those games always ran poorly. Like they were always like framey and whatnot, and then the
crashes are horrible.
And then the gameplay itself was always the weakest part. You just walked around and examined things and stuff. You never really there was nothing much more to do. And
who likes to do that in video games? Don't listen to me for the next 15 minutes.
And then like the choices really don't matter very much, and I'm curious as to what they'll change from that Telltale formula, and what will make this stand out as we move into, like you said, this next era of these story-based games.
I think as long as they can, like you said, not have it run poorly, increase the the fidelity, graphics, all that stuff, and just keep it kind of how it was, I think they'll at least have a niche audience that really, really wants to check their stuff out, and that might bleed into the more casual people that don't really like that stuff. So if they can nail that, I think they'll be okay. Yeah.
All right, and then moving on to October 28th, the big Call of Duty game, Modern Warfare 2, will be coming out. Just a preview of ahead. I played the beta and have some thoughts, but that will be talked about later. And I know, John, we know your thoughts. Unless your friend Coach talks you into this, you will just be on the sidelines on this one.
I think a lot of people do this where they convince themselves that, it's been a long time since I liked one, I should give this one a shot, and then you get it, and then you're like, nope, still not there. And so this one has the best chance. The idea that this will be supported, there's the rumor out there right now that there is no Call of Duty game next year for the first time in 18 years. Right. So the idea that this could be supported for 2 years is definitely enticing. The idea that there's not the wall running and the jetpacks and the things that they kind of adapted after Titanfall got popular, back in the Advanced Wars Infinite Warfare days. I'm optimistic, but no, I am not going to get it unless if my buddy Brian, wants to get it as well. So,
gotcha. All right. And then the last thing is the Resident Evil 8 DLC, the Winter's expansion. As we've talked about before, this is introducing the third-person mode to the game. This will bring Lady D to the Mercenaries mode, and then it'll also wrap up the Winter story with what was his daughter's name? I don't even remember.
Who cares?
I think it's Rose.
It was Rose. Yeah, it was
okay.
Rose.
And I didn't play Resident Evil 8, so I will defer to you, John, on what your thoughts on all of this is.
I think it's super awesome of Capcom to put the love and care into this game and series that they have. It's pretty unheard of to have a complete perspective shift when it comes to DLC, let alone just any update to a game. So the fact that they're adding that in there is great, because I do know a lot of people, and in fact I believe you're one of them, Nick, that was a little not upset but just bummed out when they made the shift to first person and really enjoyed that third person feel. So it allow people to see the game in a different light. I wasn't crazy about Village when I played it. I love 7 for context. I think 7 is probably my second favorite Resident Evil game after 4. So I didn't hate the first person. I just really vibed with that setting. I really loved that house, that family. It was gross, dirty, and you really felt kind of isolated. When this one, you bounced around so much between the castle and then the frog guy, and it's just nothing ever nothing. I feel like I wasn't in an area long enough to really kind of absorb into it, and so I hopefully, either playing it in third person can kind of, revitalize it for me, or the upcoming VR version of the game, really get in there, really start seeing this stuff would breathe some new life into the game. But I gotta at least applaud Capcom for putting that level of support into a game that they released over a year ago at this point.
Gotcha, but no interest in the story DLC.
No, that part of it I don't care. Like I think Ethan Winters is very forgettable. I don't care about him and his story and his family. But that being said, I've never even Leon and Jill, and I don't know if this is sacrilege to some people. I don't care about the stories in Resident Evil. I just want to kill some zombies and be scared. So
that's fair.
Yeah.
I wonder if there'll be any tease for the future of the franchise, whatever Resident Evil 9 will be.
Yeah, that's the question, isn't it, man? I mean, do they stick in first person? Do they go back to third? Obviously, we know this is the end of the Winter Saga, so we're going to need some new characters. Do they go back to Jill and whatever, or do they go a new character again? So, yeah, I'm definitely curious to see what they'll do with that.
Okay. Well, and that's it. That's all of October. It's kind of a little bit of a weak month for games, given we're in it.
Well, it's that Call of Duty. People are scared of being in the Call of Duty zone, so
Yeah,
but yeah, not bad though. Not bad.
Yeah.
Better than August.
Yeah, August and September were also pretty weak. So I don't even think we did really a September preview. It was all PlayStation Plus extra games. It was nothing else. So, all right. So that's it. Let's move on.
All right. So, as you frequent listeners will know, last week I had to spin the wheel, and we had to figure out what the next game I was going to play was. And the wheel has been pretty cruel to us as we've had thus far. We both picked Death Stranding, both bounced off of Death Stranding. So this last week it picked Disco Elysium for me, and I gotta admit, that was probably the last game on the list I really wanted it to pick, even though I had to throw it on there because I just can't get this game out of my brain. I'm happy to report, folks, the wheel did me a fucking solid. I have probably put, we'll say, 7 to 8 hours into this game so far, and it's absolutely fantastic. I think it deserves every applause that it's had thus far, and that could change again. It's a 25, 30-hour game, so I have a lot to go still, but I can already tell the outstanding writing that this game has, and I'll kind of get into some examples, because really I think appreciate this game to the level that I am right now, you really do have to put in a little bit of work and just immerse yourself in it in a way that I at least don't typically do with video games. So obviously the main carry in this game is the dialogue. You're doing a lot of reading. You're doing a lot of just talking to characters and learning about the world building and things like that. But anybody who's familiar with the game kind of knows that the unique twist on this game is a lot of the dialogue is carried internally between your character and your brain. And what I mean by that is your brain, you have these 24 different, we'll just call them characters because that's kind of what they are, characters and aspects of your brain that tell you and talk to you and behave to you in the way that they should. So for instance, right, my character is an intelligence build. And within the intelligence build, there are, I believe it's 5 different attributes that kind of control how you interact throughout the world. Those attributes are drama, logic, encyclopedia, and conceptualization and visual calculus. And on the surface, that seems overwhelming, and that's what I felt like when I first played the game, right? And you're like, what the fuck do these mean? How do they change the world? Should I invest in this versus that? And as you start to play the game and you start to see, you start to get context clues, and you start to have these different characters kind of analyze the world that you're exploring, you really start to get a sense of what they do for you. And I'll just use visual calculus as an example in this situation. So I have a pretty high visual calculus, And I got to a part in the game where you're investigating this murder, right? And you're trying to figure out what happened to this guy who's hung. And you see some footprints in the ground.
He's got a big dick?
He's got a huge dick. Huge dick. So you see these footprints in the ground, and you walk up to them, and you can select them. And because I had a very high visual calculus, my detective started to analyze the footprints, and it allowed me to start dissecting the crime scene, where I'm like, okay, I can see there's 8 footprints here, they lead over there, and you really start to get a sense of, you know, the amount of people that were there. And I figured out that, okay, there's 6 sets of footprints, and they went off into this area. And so I then learned that this body wasn't just hung in the setting with one guy. It was a group of people. And I thought that was really cool, where you're starting to use clues in the world based on what you want your character to be. And to kind of just get a feel for it a little bit better, I actually started a second playthrough as a sensitive build, which, you know, I'm not so much focused on facts and knowledge, you know, like the encyclopedia, right? When I'm the intelligence build, he's just spouting. Like if a guy I'm talking to mentions anything that happened, he's like, oh yeah, this happened at this time, you know, it's this historical event that, you know, is important to knowing the story. But with my sensitive build, my encyclopedia was like a 1. I didn't know fucking shit about anything, but what I did know was empathy and authority and something called the esprit de corps, which is basically the drive to be a good policeman. And when I approached those footsteps as that build, I didn't even attempt to learn what those footsteps were. But what I did is there was a character next to those footsteps that I talked to, and he was able to I was able to empathize with him a little more, and he kind of gave me a little bit of the information that I needed. And so just in that small interaction, I could really tell that this game does a fantastic job with letting you be the type of detective you want to be, and the game will adapt around that. You can, wow. You know, I know you don't want to be, nobody ever wants to be a racist piece of shit, but you can be a racist piece of shit in this game, you know, or if you want to be a good detective, you can be a good detective. And, you know, and this all builds upon one another, where, you know, every single character I come across are these interesting, unique characters. I met a guy named Measurehead, and he's talking to me, and I can't even try to begin to explain him, but he's like so over analytical and whatnot. But he's an important figure that if you talk to him the right way, he will then help you take down the body and let you have access to a different part of the map that you wouldn't have otherwise. I didn't talk to him the right way. I said something that pissed him off, and he's like, well, you know, I'm basically shut down now. And so you really kind of need to let go of FOMO with this game too, where you are just going through this, and, you know, it doesn't hold your hand. It doesn't tell you what's going to give you the good outcome, what's a paragon versus like I don't know, I don't remember what the bad version of Mass Effect is, but that's always like the, you know, the prime example for that good versus bad, evil, good thing. And, you know, and it bleeds into investigating the world. You know, I found an obvious like fake door where there's like a pallet against a door, and like I'm like, you know, you go up to it and then you interact with it, and I have a 72% chance to get behind that door, and the game is done with a lot of dice rolls. So, you know, depending on the dice roll, you know, if you have a 75% chance to open something, for instance, right? If you get like an 8 or higher, you're going to open it. If you get a 4 or higher, you would open it, right? Because 75% of the numbers possible. I hope that math makes sense. At least I don't think the numbers were right, but you know what I'm saying. And when I opened that door, it led me into into a character who I wouldn't have been able to see otherwise. And I know I'm getting a little bit long in the tooth here, but if you are able to really slow yourself down and just absorb the world and realize that, yeah, I'm not going to be having any fast kinetic gameplay here, you can really find a lot of enjoyment in this game. You know, and I'm a guy who loves Hades, right? Who loves Nier Automata, God of War, these visceral games. But once I told my brain to like just chill, investigate everything, talk about everything, talk to every single person, exhaust all their dialogue, I'm really, really enjoying it, and happy I'm playing it. I totally know that this game's not for everybody, but if that's the kind of game that you enjoy, I really highly encourage it. It goes from incredibly serious to incredibly silly. It's top-notch voice acting. The music's great, all that kind of stuff. But it really is a top tier game. It's by ZA/UM Games. I don't know how to pronounce that. I don't know if it's Zaum or that's how you say it, but this was their first game, and I will have my eye on their shit going forward, man, because they have a style and they executed it perfectly. Do you have any questions about the game, or is this something you want to go back to, or anything like that, Nick?
Yeah, of course. If I could get over that, like you said, that initial character build, and then and like you said, letting go, because, like in Fallout, right? When you don't have the character traits, you can't pick certain locks, or you can't hack certain computers and whatnot, or get the correct the dialogue options, and that sucks. Like, I hate that feeling.
Feels bad.
But if I could if I could let that go, I would want to play this, because my next question is, IGN famously ranked this 10th on their 100 greatest games of all time, 10th of all games.
Yeah.
Is that the feeling you're getting while playing this game, that it's that good, like that impactful?
No, I and I still have to see how it lands, how the story comes together, because I have also read a little bit. I'm not trying to spoil myself, but I was just looking at a quick list of what makes Disco Elysium great, and everybody kept talking about how genuinely amazing the murder mystery is and how it gets, and I haven't quite got there yet with that, so. But it's hard for me to say that any game that doesn't really have, I play this game literally one-handed, Nick. I put the controller to the side of me, and I just use my thumb to use it to find the next thing I can hit X on, and with the joystick, and I go. And I think that has its place and purpose, but it's not for everybody. So to say it's the 10th greatest game of all time, I wouldn't go that far. To say it has top 10 dialogue, yes, absolutely. To say it has top 10 voice acting, I'd probably go there. But the whole greatest game, I don't know, man. You got Super Mario World and Half-Life 2 and all that kind of stuff, but it is something special for sure.
Okay, all right. Well, we'll see how you feel after you beat it. So, because the story's got to be what gets you to that.
Yeah, and I still admittedly, it's not perfect. I think it is still a little slow. And I'm really fighting that. I'm not super excited every time I boot it up, but every time I'm into it, I'm back in that world. It's hard to put back down. So, I hope that feeling persists for 25, 30 hours. I know it's a long one, but I'm glad I'm playing it. I think it shouldn't be missed if you have access to this game.
Okay. Wow. Yeah. All right, well, I'll wait to see how you feel, and then if a spot opens up or the wheel decrees it, I will check it out. All right, moving on. Over the weekend, as I mentioned on the last episode, is the Call of Duty Modern Warfare 2 beta took place. This one was open to all PlayStation users, so I had some free time. It was rainy, so I figured I'd download it and check it out. And it was only 25 gigs, John. It was not 100 gig downloads. So there was.
Yeah, but it's a beta.
Yeah,
that's not too bad. That's not too bad.
Right. Yeah, I'm curious as to what the real game will be. Yeah. But I just had some thoughts. Again, this is coming from someone whose last game they played was the Modern Warfare 1 beta. So, take my thoughts on the franchise and this game with that perspective, because I have not played Call of Duty regularly since Modern Warfare 3. So just getting that out there, my history with it. But it felt really good. It loads really fast. The game is tight to control. It feels great on the DualSense, the trigger pulls and all that. I played probably one match in every mode. The first one I played was Invasion. It was like a 16v16 in this desert city, and it was crazy. It was just explosions everywhere. I was playing with my Pulse headset. Everyone's kill streaks were going off. It was fun. Just felt really good. And then I checked out a few of the other modes. They kind of have a bomb planting mode and a hostage rescue mode, and those were fine. The maps were good. Well, the maps are very vertical, which I appreciate. There's a lot of windows. There's a lot of rooftops you can be on. So it kind of like varies the gameplay up. There's not like certain choke points or anything. There's a lot of places you can go. And then this one also has a third person mode in which you can just play the game in third person. So some of the modes the camera's back and
right after I tell you how awesome Capcom is for like integrating a third person perspective shift. Cool.
Yeah. It's just a different way to play the game. It feels more of like the third person shooters, the kind of point to a PlayStation franchise like SOCOM. And that felt good too. So if you checked it out, you probably liked it a lot, and it's going to be the big game of this month, as we just talked about. Yeah. So John, if you're forced to play it, it feels great. You won't.
That's good. Is there any single thing that you can say they have progressed in the series since your time with Modern Warfare?
No.
Okay.
No,
okay.
I mean there's a lot more customization, right. But this has been in the previous titles. This is not new to this one. Every gun has all the billion attachments. There's a billion ways to customize not only your profile like in those older games, but your guns and all that. You can have little like keychains hanging off. So. This is a lot there, but again, as we've talked about when we did our big Call of Duty on PlayStation discussion, this franchise does not move the needle forward. It's just the same thing every year. Now it's just prettier. You know
what video game franchise I think is almost most similar to Call of Duty, Nick? It's Pokemon. I feel like these two series, because they sell so well, because they don't need to innovate, they just put out the same thing year after year, and I just really wonder, is that a strategy that will work in perpetuity, or is it going to come to a point where they need to shift the franchise? And I don't know the answer to that. I just, I look at Pokemon though, and I saw the reception of Arceus, however you say that, earlier this year, and it really felt like that's what the Pokemon fans wanted. And it took the company taking a risk and doing something different. And they're still putting out the core game this year. I just would love to see Infinity Ward, Treyarch, Sledgehammer, who the fuck ever, put out a game that really shakes it up. And, and they don't need to, because they sell every year so much. But, I'm happy to hear that it feels good, and I'm sure it does. I think Call of Duty, for some flack that they get, they have the perfect formula when it comes to first-person shootings, how I think it should feel. And it's nice to hear that it's vertical a little bit, and it's not just kind of, on the ground. But I don't know. I just... Every time I pick one of those up, it's always like, okay, well, the first thing I have to do is I have to learn the maps. Where are the choke points? Okay, all right, I know that stuff now. You're inevitably going to be angry playing it when you have a bad match. But, I think that, at least the people out there who want to play it, you won't be disappointed, I guess, at least. But.
It is the meat and potatoes game, as you described Far Cry 6. So, and I know, like, if we knew the answer to this, we'd be rich. But I don't know how they make this better. When your game is based on real warfare and it's a first-person shooter, you're not going to have a portal gun, or your gameplay limitations are there. So. I don't know. You just got to make it. It just got to feel good. I think it needs to load fast, and it needs to look very pretty and feel good to play. And people will come.
I don't think you change the core game. I think you do approach it like, again, with Pokemon Arceus. We're like, look, we're gonna have. I don't know if Pokemon is now going to have, like, because it's Pokemon Legends Arceus right now. So do they have a Legends franchise and then the core franchise that are going separately, parallel to one another? And I think Call of Duty could do the same type of thing. You have your core game, then maybe we have our, what would Call of, we have our game that's just focused on, tactics. Or now we have our Call of Duty game that is a standalone single player when we have the multiplayer vertical going here. And I don't know, just play around with the releases of these games, but I don't know if they can do that without drastically leveling up their amount of developers they have there, because obviously it's 3 full teams, sometimes 4, just to get these coming out every year. So right. I don't know how you do it. I don't know if they want to do it. But, it's more Call of Duty. It's going to be good. So, yeah, hurrah.
That's a good point. Like, kind of like the Forza Horizon versus, Forza Motorsport method of
exactly
kind of having 2 different franchises, one being the ultra serious based in reality, and then maybe a spin-off series that does something different. That's an interesting idea. I think
and they
that,
do have
that would be fun.
And they've already kind of experimented a little bit with Warzone, and that's a different thing, but just something doesn't look like something that when I look at the screen, I can't immediately go, yep, Call of Duty. Like, anybody can do that. So, I don't know.
Yeah, I hear you. That's a good point, but not this game. This will be more of the same, so.
Gotcha.
All right, moving on.
All right. This is my favorite thing that's happened in the last week. On September 26th, which the diehards out there will know, that is actually Last of Us Day, which I didn't know. I don't think, Nick, you or I really were aware that it was coming. If we were, maybe we could have expected this, but we were treated with a official first trailer. I'm going to call it a trailer, even though they call it a teaser, because this was, of pure fucking awesomeness. They gave us our official trailer for The Last of Us, and oh boy, do I think it looks good. What was your impressions on it, Nick, when you first saw it?
Yeah, it gave me goosebumps. It's what's the song? What's the artist that?
Hank Williams.
Yes, Hank Williams. Thank you. That's playing over this, and just all the iconic shots, and just again, we talk about attention to detail in video games, like the attention to detail in this show, and the sets and the shots, and oh my god, and then that brief second we get to see of a clicker, and you're just like we mentioned before when they did that slight little clip of all their shows coming to HBO, like they're behind this a lot. Like they are putting a lot of effort into this, and it shows, and it looks fucking amazing. I'm excited.
Anytime that HBO identifies what their flagship show is, think Game of Thrones, Sopranos, 6 Feet Under. I'm not sure what the big one was before Game of Thrones, but these are huge shows, and I cannot think of a better, like when I had the vision in my mind of what this show would look like and be, they nailed it, man. It's everything that I could have wanted. When I think of this trailer, they show a lot of, like Nick said, the famous set pieces from the game, and like that those 2 buildings, right, that are kind of leaning on one another and like torn down in the city. When they showed that with like the lightning flashing behind it, it looks perfect. The casting looks great. I think the one thing that people are talking about is like, oh well, Ellie doesn't look like Ellie. Big fucking deal, right? If Bella Ramsey is able to pull off that performance and capture the spirit of Ellie, it doesn't matter. But I cannot wait. They didn't give us an official date of the show yet. All we still see is 2023. But all the pieces are in place. The fact that Neil Druckmann is obviously intimately involved, he's not going to let the reputation of The Last of Us, whether you like the second one or not, be tarnished and put out a less than perfect type of media representation of it. I think Pedro Pascal, he looks good as Joel. It's kind of funny. It seems like he's making a career out of just being the most badass babysitter of all time between this and Mando. So more of that is great. It's got Nick Offerman in it, which if you're a Parks and Rec fan, you're gonna, really be happy about that. He's our famous Ron Swanson, and they're actually including several people from the game into it as well. Obviously Ashley, who played Ellie, and Troy, who played Joel, are in it, but the actress who played Tess in the video game is Tess in the show. You have Craig Mazin, who was the writer behind the fantastic Chernobyl series that came out a couple years ago, which in my opinion is one of the greatest miniseries of all time. It's absolutely amazing. So I couldn't be happier. I couldn't be more hyped. I think that this show is going to be that next water cooler type show at work or at when you talk to your friends. I think people are going to be really absorbed in it. And as a video game fan who's been a fan of this franchise for 9 years, let's fucking go, baby! It's going to be awesome. It's going to be great.
Yeah, I'm excited. I think we agree on that. When this show is airing, it'll be the permanent sixth thing on this show.
Yes.
That we will talk and discuss every episode. And I imagine that first episode is gonna be some anyone who's played the first game or is playing The Last of Us Part 1 right now knows that the the first hour of that game is boy.
So I'm gonna ask you right now, and spoilers if you have not played the first Last of Us, you really should have at this point, but skip ahead 30 seconds if you want. Nick, does the first episode end with Joel's daughter dying? Or seeing Ellie? Where does it end?
I would bet that it's the daughter dying.
Okay. Because I talked to Jeff about it too, and he kind of had a good point where it's like that up to that point in the game, it's I don't know 2% of the total game. So it would be kind of interesting if they really spent the time developing the situation at hand and made that whole first episode, or does that happen like halfway through and then you finally meet Ellie or something like that? I don't know, but it'll be interesting to see how much they really flesh out that first game.
Yeah, I think we're gonna get more of Joel's life before everything goes crazy. So that's why I think like the first, there'll be tension, right? Like as people who know what happened, and people in general, they're gonna know that something's gonna happen, that's gonna change the world. And I think that the first episode's gonna just sit on that tension and just kind of slowly get it. And then when night falls, and you're just gonna be like, oh boy, here it comes.
Yeah.
I think they're going to build on it, and then the last 20 minutes of that episode. I don't know. I'm assuming it's an hour-long show.
Gotta be.
Or 50 minutes, like all the other HBO shows. So I imagine the last 20 minutes of that are just going to be the most craziest thing you've ever seen.
I just got so excited just talking about it here, man. I know you love your shows, your Marvel shows and all that stuff, and that's all, all that stuff's great, but I cannot remember being this excited for a, ready day one, when it, counting down the first day when something airs. It's been a long, long time, probably since Breaking Bad or maybe Game of Thrones, but I'll be honest, I love Game of Thrones, but I don't love it as much as a lot of people do, so I think... I don't know, man. I just can't fucking wait. It's gonna be so good.
Yeah.
But that's all I got that's all I got to say about that, as somebody famous once said.
All right. Well, yeah. Next year, man. Sometime, hopefully early.
I'm gonna guess. April. I'm gonna guess April, because that's usually when Game of Thrones airs. That's the big HBO show.
Yeah, that sounds about right to me. So.
Yep.
All right. Moving on, let's get back into more games that I've been playing. Quick update on Chicory, A Colorful Tale. I beat it. I loved it. It's very fun. It is still indie game based in nostalgia, so I didn't like it that much, but it is a very good game, as we discussed. And if John beats it, we maybe have a final thoughts on the overall game. But just wanted to put that out there that I beat it. So that means I moved on to Spiritfarer. This is from Thunder Lotus Games. This was released all the way back in August 18th of 2020, but it is now on the PlayStation Plus Extra tier. It is currently sitting at a 87 on OpenCritic. And the first thing that you see about this game after you install it is the description is a cozy management game about dying.
Yep.
So that's set your expectations. And the game is about you taking over, taking the spirits that have died into the afterlife. You replace, is it Karen? Karen?
I think it's Karen, yeah.
Because he was in Hades too, right?
yeah, Charon, but I believe it's Karen, yeah.
Yeah, so your name is Stella, and you're taking over the place, the job of Karen, as for ferrying people into the afterlife. And you do that by, basically, it's a cruise ship simulator. These spirits come on your boat, and then you have to accommodate them, cook for them, any requests.
Give them hugs.
Yep, any requests that they have. And the game is very adorable. The art style on this is incredible. The animation is incredible. I cannot get enough of shearing sheep. That animation is just incredibly incredible. And another cool thing is that all the spirits you get on, they're normal spirits when you go to pick them up, but once they get on your boat, they transform into animals. And that is one of the more exciting parts of the game, is like, what animal are they going to be? You kind of see their silhouettes when they're in this spirit form. But when they get on the boat and then they transform, and then the one guy, he transformed into a giant frog. I was like, oh, he's a frog! Oh my God, he's huge! I really love that part of the game.
Yeah, man. Oh.
So it is fun. You pilot your ship around. There's kind of a world map, and you kind of set your course. And then while you're waiting, you can fish off your boat and take care of your passengers, build new buildings. There's a lot of resource management, a lot of converting, like I said, the wool from a sheep into thread, and converting that thread into another material. And you do that with wood, with stones, and so on and so forth. There's a lot of cool world events, like when I got that frog on my ship and we went into a lightning storm. I'm sure you did this, John. And he's like, oh, you can catch lightning in a bottle. And I'm like, oh, okay, let's do that. And so he starts playing on his little flute, and then lightning starts hitting, and you're doing like kind of like lifting the bottle above your head as a big blast of lightning hits it. It's just great. It's a cool moment. It's a storm all around you. It's a really good game and a nice palate cleanser. It's very different. Like I like mixing in simulation games probably once every year, it seems like. Yeah. There's not a lot of them out there, like a Jurassic World Evolution or 2 Point Hospital, but this is an incredible version of that. Everything about it is just so charming, and then helping these spirits, these animals, kind of cope with dying and all the things that they're going to leave behind, all the people and whatnot. It's just a very endearing game. I can't say a bad thing about it. I haven't completed it yet. I'm about 10 hours in, but I know you played some, John. Mm-hmm. What are your thoughts?
There's there's a podcaster that I really, really like. I don't even know if I consider him a podcaster. He's part of the Easy Allies groups. His name's Michael Huber. And he always talks about vibes and the things that games put out. And this game has like you said, the coziest vibe, man. Like when you are on your ship and you are, you have these adorable spirit animal things telling you what they like to eat, and then it's your mission to go make sure you can cook that for them, and then they get so happy when you give it to them, and you see the smile on their face, and I correct me if I'm wrong, but I think like little smiley thought bubbles pop up around their head, and then they want to, and then you kind of give it to them, and then like you walk away and you're like, hey, do you want a hug? And they're like, yeah, give me a hug, and you hug them, and they're like and they're just like so happy for that. It's just we live in a dark, dreary world, man. I don't know if you know that or not, but it seems like every time you turn on the news or you look at your phone, it's something shitty's going on. And to play a game like this, where you get your blanket, get a cup of coffee, and just get cozy, and you're taking care of these animals. It's really, really it's a wonderful experience, and the sim management stuff it's not too overbearing. Mm-hmm. I loved like organizing my boat. It reminded me a lot of like I don't know about you, but like in like Resident Evil 4, for instance, I for some reason just loved the inventory management system where you're kind of like snapping things into a grid and maximizing your space. This is very much the same way and it's very easy to move things around. It's not tedious to have to rearrange things or whatever. But if you get a new type of building you can build and your ship's not big enough, you can go make your ship a little bigger and tweak things here and there, and things snap very easily. Your character moves around your boat very easily, and Yeah, it's a wonderful, wonderful little indie game that I'm sure a lot of people would miss but shouldn't.
Yep. I agree. I haven't finished it yet, so I'll save my final thoughts. But I imagine not much is going to change. My ship's just going to get bigger and bigger, and I'll just get more and more elaborate requests. But yeah, fantastic.
And then you join Satan, and then you have to. Sorry, bad joke. I have nothing else.
Yeah, I did meet Hades, so.
Oh, you did?
Yeah, so there might be more to this, the overall plot. So
it can get heavy. It can get a little heavy. But.
So, and he was a kind of an ominous figure, but we'll see where this goes. So,
cool.
But so far so good, and I think again we'll agree on, John, that PlayStation Plus Extra is pretty fucking dope.
It's really good, man. I don't know if I don't have any reason to ever buy a game ever again, even though I just bought Cuphead like 3 days ago. But it's awesome. It's fucking awesome.
Yeah. Watch Cuphead be the.
I had that. You shut your mouth. That will not be the thing on this podcast that comes to life.
It's gonna happen eventually. Eventually, one of us are gonna buy a game and it's gonna be on there. But
no, they need to get their money. They deserve their money. They only sold that DLC for $7.99, and God knows how much time and effort went into it. So no freebies with Cuphead. Everybody buy it.
We'll see.
Yeah, we'll see.
But yeah, I think we're in agreement that the value is just insane. Even I've probably played maybe 1%, 2% of the games on there.
Oh, yeah.
And it's already just worth it because, again, I think, would I take a chance on Spiritfarer and Chicory had I not been subscribed to this? Would I have paid money for them? Maybe, but like in this tier, it's like, why not? I'll just try it. If I don't like it, who cares? No money lost,
And you found 2 games that you love, so sweet.
Yeah, keeps on giving. So, all right, that is my piece on Spiritfarer. Another 6 things in the book.
Whoop.
Yes, we did it again.
Are you buying me a car for our Sweet 16?
No.
Shit.
No.
All right.
You buy your own car. Get a part-time job, you loser.
Yes, Dad.
All right. So the song we're leaving you on is from Chicory. Chicory has an amazing soundtrack by Lena Raine. This one is called The Mountaintop. It's sung by Emmy Evans. E-M-I. Emmy.
I'm gonna go Emmy.
Emmy Evans. She
thinks she's cool and spells things different ways.
She sings over the song. This plays over the end credits. I thought it was a great song, so let our listeners listen to it. Do we have anything to tease for next week? I'm assuming these PlayStation Plus extra games will be announced then.
Yeah, I obviously plan on getting much deeper into Disco. I did buy Cuphead and its DLC the other day. I beat it on Switch, but I just like that game so much, and it would be an awesome platinum to put in my feather cap if I can ever get there. I don't know if I have the skills. We'll see, but yeah, I don't think I'll be playing much else besides that until God of War, maybe, man. I don't know.
We'll see. It's looming.
It's coming. He is coming.
Yeah, and we'll be collecting our digital telescopes because PlayStation Stars will be out, so we'll have thoughts on that. I plan on beating Spiritfarer, and then I don't know. I'll have to find something.
Well, you either got to wheel it, or I think you got to play something scary.
Yes, that's true. I do want to play some horror games, so if the extra tier doesn't do it for me, I'll have to look to the store and maybe buy a game here to
Resident Evil 2.
Get my spooky in. Yes, Resident Evil 2. So, we'll see. Cool. All right, everyone. Enjoy the song, and we will be back next week with 6 more things. Goodbye, guys.
Bye.
Standing on the mountain top, the world looks very small. They're watching me, but they can't see how scared I am at all. where they can see I can't do it alone. It's hard to know where I should go when all those I love are down there.